Hello and welcome back to Aussie Frugal Family. My name is Rachel and on this channel we chat about the cost of living crisis and how our family of three, very almost four, are getting through that. As I think pretty much everybody knows now, I am very heavily pregnant. I am waiting for this baby to come any day now. I'm trying to get him out in whatever ways possible. And one of the questions that I have received most over the last few months doing the whole social media thing is, if we're on this really strict budget, if we're not super financially comfortable, why are we having another baby, or how are we going to afford another baby? Firstly, I want to acknowledge that obviously I don't owe anyone an explanation about how I plan my family. It's not affecting you. We're not living on government handouts or anything like that. Like, no one's paying extra taxes for us to have babies. So yeah, it's not really anybody's business. But having said that, I don't mind sharing my life on the internet. I wouldn't do it otherwise. I feel like this is an important conversation to have, especially like the birth rate is plummeting at the moment, apparently. I don't know too much about it, but that's what I've been told. And people are saying that they can't afford to have children, which I totally believe. Like, some people don't feel comfortable having children in their financial position, and that's totally fine. But I'm also here to tell you that it doesn't actually cost as much money as a lot of people think it does. So let's break this into those two questions. I'm gonna start with why we're having another baby if we're not financially comfortable, and then I'll go on to how we are going to keep that baby. Let's start with why. So my husband and I always knew that we wanted 2 kids. We both grew up with siblings. We just knew that that's what we wanted for our family. 2 seemed like the right number. I will definitely be stopping after 2. Timing wise as well, why are we doing it when we're not in a financially comfortable position? Firstly, we already have a child and we thought a 2-year and a bit age gap was good. That's the age gap I had with my brother and I thought it was nice. It also just didn't make sense for us to wait any longer because I am in my 30s, and whether I like it or not, I am moving closer towards the end of the biologically ideal time for me to have babies. And that's not to say that older women should not have babies. I don't believe that at all. Like, you do you. I think this is the right time physically for me to be having my last baby. Pregnancy and birth is an incredibly physically demanding phenomenon, and I feel a lot more confident doing it while I'm still within a certain age. Speaking on the age thing as well, my husband is 5 years older than me. He's also had a very physically strenuous, rough job for most of his life. His body definitely isn't what it used to be. And while that might not affect things like fertility, it does affect his ability to give energy to young children. Like most fathers, he wants to be an active dad who can run around with his kids. And yeah, he's just sort of also nearing the end of the physically ideal time for him to have children. Age aside, I also believe that it's never a bad time to have a very wanted, very loved child. Our family has so much love to give and we have such a beautiful life. We live in a gorgeous place, in an amazing community. Our kids' lives are full of love and family and fun and just awesome experiences. We may not be rich in terms of monetary value, but our lifestyle is incredibly wholesome. We live a very rich lifestyle and we know that we can provide a really lovely, beautiful childhood. Now that we have discussed the why, I would like to touch on to the how. How are we going to afford to have a second child when we're not super financially comfortable? I don't personally believe that having a child needs to be quite as expensive as we as a society make it out to be. There are definitely financial sacrifices to be made, and this could be more or less costly depending on your lifestyle and your parenting style and where you live and all sorts of different factors. So I can only speak on my experience of that. For example, our main financial sacrifice is that when we have a baby, I work less to spend more time raising children. Particularly in the first year, I try not to work too much. I exclusively breastfed our daughter, and we plan to do the same thing for our son, which means that daycare is sort of out of the question until they're like a year old-ish, depending on the child. And even then, when I started daycare with my daughter, it was only a few hours a week until we felt a bit more comfortable to slowly build that up. If you've had an exclusively breastfed child, you may have shared this experience, but they become like super attached to mum, which is totally natural, but it does make it hard when you need to do things like put them in childcare. So that does make it more difficult to work and earn money as a mum, but we just believe that that's the best thing for our family personally. Having said that, I don't actually take very much time off work. I take the paid parental leave period that the government provide, but because I work for myself and mostly from home, I'm able to start doing a few hours a week once that PPL has ended. I'm very lucky to have family support. So my mum or my mother-in-law can watch the baby while I teach online. And then doing the whole exclusive breastfeeding thing, I can just pop my camera off, baby on the boob, I'm good to go. It's definitely not easy to do. It's a lot of pressure on me. It can be difficult working and breastfeeding, and you've got a crying baby in the background sometimes, and all your maternal instincts are saying, go and hold that baby, but you can't. But that's the reality of what we have to do to make ends meet while still facilitating that mother-baby connection, the breastfeeding on demand, everything like that. In terms of purchases, we have spent barely anything on this second child. I kept everything from our last baby, everything. So the only big costs we had this time were new car seats, because our first kid is still rear facing in her car seat. And yeah, that's it actually. We have not bought anything else new for this baby. I had plenty of hand-me-downs still from my daughter that will be totally fine for my son. I've also been given a whole lot of things from other mums on the mountain who have had little boys. So yeah, we have more clothes than we could possibly ever use. Everything else we pretty much already had. We already have bassinets, cots, co-sleepers, rockers, everything that we used for our daughter that we will just use again for our son. In the long term, there will obviously be more expenses like daycare and swimming and activities and things like that. But by that time, I'll be able to work more, which will mean we'll be in a more comfortable financial position. So yeah, I'm not extremely concerned about that. We are very fortunate in a lot of ways. We aren't living in poverty. We're not a family who generally struggle heaps with money. We own our home with a mortgage. We both work, we both own cars. We're just a little bit poor at the moment because we're in the thick of raising children. I feel like there has never been an easy time to raise children, but it seems particularly hard at the moment for young families after COVID and interest rates rising and the cost of living and groceries and everything like that. It's just seems to be an exceptionally expensive time to be alive. So of course it's going to be an expensive time to have a family, but I also believe it's very important to think about what you want your life to look like in the future. It might be difficult now, but in 5, 10, 20 years from now, I know that I will be glad that I made room in our life and our budget for another child, and I would never regret this. I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't afford this child, here, someone take it, you know. So yeah, I hope that provides a little bit of information to people who are curious about the hows and whys of us having another child when we're not financially comfortable. And if it is something that you're thinking about, seriously, it doesn't cost as much as people say it has to have a baby. Buy everything secondhand. Use your community Facebook groups to look for baby things. People are always giving stuff away. Breastfeed if you can. I feel like that saves a lot of money, not having to buy bottles and formulas and things like that. But otherwise, people just make it work. If it's what you want for your life and what you want for your family, you'll find a way to make it work. And now I'm going to leave you guys with just some footage of all of our things that we didn't have to buy because we already had them. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Hopefully I'll have a baby by then. This is the bassinet that we keep in the living room for when baby is little and having naps next to us. This I scored on Facebook Marketplace the last pregnancy, so something I didn't have to buy this time. I have millions of cloth nappies from my girl. Pumps and bottles and breast milk bags. I never used really any of this for our daughter. I don't anticipate using it for our son, but it's there if we need it. We have rockers. The cat's been sleeping in this one. It needs a clean before a baby uses it, obviously. This is the co-sleeper that I use with my daughter. It's currently full of snacks that I'm gonna take to the hospital with me when it's time to go. Obviously, we still have change tables, nappy bins, baby toys, everything left over from my daughter. And in terms of clothes, these are just the 40 and 30 things. We have more clothes than this baby could ever possibly wear. All these drawers are full. And then, like, what a beautiful place to grow up. Lovely.